Hi, this is Dr. Patmos, and it is March the 6th. Well, Dr. Vinay Prasad is out again. Now, this has got to be some sort of record. I have never seen anybody who got canned from the same job twice in 6 months, but he managed to do it. So, for those of you who aren't up to speed on this, Dr. Prasad is the director of the FDA Center for Evaluation of Biologics Evaluation and Research, the CBER. He's basically the number two at the FDA. He is an oncologist with actually excellent oncology qualifications, fellowship trained and board certified in oncology. He is a faculty member at UCSF, and he made himself quite famous with his Substack, in which he wrote absolutely outrageous, provocative, aggressive articles, calling people names, and writing articles with absolutely vulgar titles with four-letter words. This is a professor at UCSF. Well, anyhow, he was very quickly recognized as an anti vaxxer, and so he was tapped by Marty Makary, uh, who is the director of the FDA, for this very important, high profile, highly compensated, and powerful job at the FDA. Well, Dr. Prasad got off to a pretty bad start and got canned within a few months of starting after he managed to anger MAGA power broker Laura Loomer, who didn't like something that Prasad said where he was critical of the COVID vaccine. So he's an anti vaxxer, but yet he managed to be a little too critical of the vaccine that Trump had pushed through. So that was perceived as being a slight to the president. So Prasad was shown the door. But he begged for his job back. He went to Makary, who I suppose went to Kennedy, who went to Trump, and said he would be a good boy, mea culpa, mea culpa. I promised not to do it again. And he got his job back. And then what happened? Well, now there have been all sorts of complaints filed against him by staff at FDA in his areas where he has oversight of all sorts of workplace harassment, aggressive treatment of people, the typical workplace, hostile work environment kind of stuff, including even some accusations of other kinds of harassment. So, needless to say, and apparently there are at least a dozen or so. There's not just one person at FDA claiming this, is multiple people who have filed complaints against him, and these are going to have to go and be adjudicated, and they could very easily end up in the FDA having to pay out fines and so forth. I mean, hostile work environments, harassment in the workplace is a bad thing, and federal workers are protected from that, as are all workers, but certainly federal workers are. And so Prasad obviously has a big mouth, and he put his foot in it one too many times, and he's out again for the second time. It was just announced today that he will be leaving FDA at the end of April. Well, sounds like they gave him a nice 6 week, severance there, and so he gets to fly back to San. He's been commuting from San Francisco, so at taxpayer expense. So now he gets to fly home to San Francisco early and collect his paycheck from FDA for the next 6 weeks while he reinserts himself into his life at UCSF, and he will go down in history. I think he goes down in history for many reasons. He's the only academic physician I who has ever written an article that got published on his Substack that titled "Piss, Shit, Vomit," and I mean, I can't even say it. It's so vulgar. He's the only professor who writes articles on his Substack where he refers to healthcare administrators as abject pieces of shit, quote unquote. That's how he refers to people who work in healthcare on the administrative side. many of whom are his colleagues. There are many physicians who are also happen to be healthcare administrators. So, in fact, Prasad became a healthcare administrator when he in his short time at FDA. So he's out, and this is really, he goes down in history. I don't know, maybe you know, I can't think of another situation where someone was fired from the same job twice in 6 months. That has got to be that's got to be a record. I don't know if he puts it on his resume. I mean, how do you show that? You show that as one job being terminated. How do you explain? I don't know. It'd be an interesting one. So I think he goes back to San Francisco and slithers back down into that little hole that he came out of, where he can write articles about how he encounters human excrement and bodily fluids every day while making rounds at UCSF, and that's just what doctors do. No, it isn't. We're not exposed to blood and body fluids like that every day, like he claims. If you were, you'd be infection control would be all over you. If you have any exposure to blood and body fluids, there's a whole protocol around that, and there's all we have universal precautions and all kinds of protections. That's what he's describing is just not really possible without violating all sorts of infection control policies and procedures. So, in any case, I am so glad to see Dr. Prasad uh, relieved of his position. Now, the way they phrased it is he was only going to be there for a short time, and McCarr, so he accomplished a lot in a year or less than a year. He was only going to be there for a short period of time. So this was like a pre-plan. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. He is being pushed out for the second time because of these lawsuits, these harassment lawsuits about him. So anyhow, that's the news today. Bye bye, Vinay. See you in San Francisco.